10 things you should know about North Korea. Number 10. Still at war. North Korea is one of the most controversial countries in the world. They've denied normal interactions with other countries besides China, giving them the nickname of the Hermit Kingdom. They also have a deep hatred for Americans and the Western way of life. But why is this? In order to understand some reasoning, you must take a deeper look into their history. The Korean Peninsula was divided into two pieces after World War II. It was originally part of Japanese territory for 35 years during 1910 to 1945. Once the Japanese Empire finally fell, the Korean Peninsula was divided into two pieces along what's known as the 38th parallel, the north side being communist and the south side being controlled by the Americans and the United Nations. North Korea swiftly invaded the South in 1950, hoping to unite the Korean people. America swept in and prevented the spread of communism in the Korean War. Many weapons such as napalm were used, and as much as 75% of North Korea's capital of Pyongyang was destroyed. Technically, the US and South Korea are still at war with North Korea since a peace treaty was never signed. At this moment, we are only considered to be in a ceasefire. Number 9. Supreme Leaders. While outside religion is banned in North Korea, the cult-like worshipping of the supreme leaders are well noticed in this country, and the invader of South Korea went by the name of Kim Il-sung. This man brought in aid from the USSR and promoted patriotism in the country. Ever since his dictatorship took over the country, a dynasty was established and his bloodline has continued to govern the country. When Kim Jong-il died in 2011, his son took over, named Kim Jong Un, and he's the current supreme leader of North Korea. The propaganda about Kim Jong Un in North Korea would lead many to believe that he's some kind of divine being, and any luck or fortune that a citizen comes across is usually because of him. We'll get more into this later. Number 8. The Demilitarized Zone. One of the most tense pieces of land stretches along the 38th parallel and is known as the Demilitarized Zone. This border is 2.5 miles thick and separates North and South Korea. It was created in order to keep the two countries separated and to keep some peace in the area. It's considered to be a no man's land and is filled with landmines, electric fences, barbed wire, and other obstacles to keep people from trying to cross into their neighbor's territory. There is only one designated area where North and South Korea can meet along the Demilitarized Zone without the threat of landmines. But both sides of the 38th parallel are both heavily militarized. The US and South will occasionally try to conduct meetings or discussions, but the North Koreans will ignore them. Number 7. Nuclear capabilities. While many of us would like to see North Korea and their dictators wiped off the face of the planet, it's a little more complicated than we like to think. Despite their threats to the US and our allies, we've managed to avoid all-out wars with them. Invading North Korea again would be like declaring war on China as well. China is still obligated to reinforce them since they are their strongest ally and trading partner. China assisted North Korea with as many as 3 million soldiers, and it's highly likely they would do the same if a war were to break out again. However, the Chinese might also begin to become a little bit wary of their allies after their nuclear test in January and September of 2016. They've been quite open about their successful tests recently in the northeastern proving grounds, not far from China. Many wonder how far they're actually able to launch these nukes. Their most recent one had an estimated yield of 20 to 30 kilotons of TNT due to the seismic activity. This would put it as being possibly twice as powerful as the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Number 6. Malnutrition. The government funding on their military seems to be quite excessive, while the people of North Korea are malnourished. According to a study of the University of Seoul, North Koreans are on average 1.2 to 3.1 inches shorter than their neighbors to the south. Despite them genetically being the same, it's believed that malnutrition plays a key component on stunted growth on the northern side, especially as a child. According to the UN, children being treated for malnutrition here rose 30% from 2014 to 2015. Malnutrition has also led to things such as cataracts developing at an alarming rate, especially among children at an age where most people wouldn't even develop such a condition. Number 5. Hard labor camps. In order to strike fear into the hearts of its citizens and to have free labor, North Korea will throw many people into their hard labor camps around the country for just about any reason possible. For just the slightest display of resistance or unwillingness to have Kim Jong Un as their leader, people can be thrown into these hard labor camps, and many of them will never make it home alive. The guards that work here are taught not to think of the prisoners as humans, and the conditions are just downright horrific. While many of the citizens are starving at their homes, these people receive the lowest of the low rations. Some are even forced to eat rats or other animals found at the camps. The prisoners are also not allowed to send letters about the conditions of the work camp. The only way we know this is from people who've managed to escape and from regretful prison guards. You can tell here that Otto Warmbier, an American citizen sentenced to do hard labor, is not happy about it one bit. Number 4. Travel is not free. Many of us might take for granted being able to travel wherever you want, or just hopping into our cars and going somewhere new. Not only do the highest government officials have cars here, the streets are frighteningly empty and no one's allowed to freely travel without special permission from the government, which basically means no. So you can imagine that they're also not allowed to travel outside the country as well. To top it off, North Korean passports are extremely difficult to get. Due to the low wages here, it's also highly unlikely for anyone to be financially able to see what life is like outside the Hermit Kingdom. And why would you want to do so when you have such a wonderful leader like Kim Jong Un? Displaying interest in other cultures could also be deemed as treason to the state and result in hard labor. So if you're born in North Korea, don't be expecting to go anywhere. Number 3. Escape is risky. Living life without internet for many of you would be very difficult, and you'd most likely want to escape. But is it worth a try? It really is a lose-lose situation, unless you truly have nothing to lose. Let's say you might be able to make it to South Korea. The government will be aware of your escape and your entire family will pay for your crimes in a hard labor camp, and there's even a possibility of execution. If North Korea can't punish you, they'll simply punish the ones you love the most. Escapees can often seek refuge in the South, but this certainly isn't simple since you have to get across the most heavily militarized border in the world. Your other option would be to go to China and then try to make it to Mongolia. But if the Chinese manage to catch you, they'll extradite you back to North Korea, and you'll be sure to spend some time in the hard labor camps. Number 2. Godlike Status. Imagine being a ruler of your own country, having statues of yourself built in your honor everywhere you go, and seeing your image basically worshipped. Seems like it'd be pretty cool, right? He also gets his people to believe what he tells them to, or else. Kim Jong-il was allegedly born at Mount Paktu, and when he was born, a new star formed, and it went from being winter to spring overnight, with rainbows of happiness everywhere. Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong Un have also never used a toilet, and people really do believe these kind of things. Kim Jong Un is actually fairly well educated and received a Western education in the neutral country of Switzerland. Growing up, he enjoyed playing an American sport we might know of as basketball. His obsession with this sport actually led to him and Dennis Rodman developing some type of friendship. Long story short, Kim Jong Un is always a star no matter where he goes, and when people are in his presence, they seem to get emotionally frantic. Number 1. Threat to security. North Korea claims to have a nuclear missile capable of reaching American soil. The animosity seems to keep building up each and every day against the US, and many people in North Korea are brought up from a young age to despise us. If there's any nation out there who seems to be unstable enough to bring on a nuclear war, it would be a fair assumption to believe that it would be the Hermit Kingdom. The people in South Korea, however, feel the most threatened, and personally feel like they would be the target if Kim Jong Un were able to turn the key, especially after they felt the earth tremble from the nuclear tests. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit that subscribe button for new videos every day.